I was over at my friend's and he's getting rid of a bunch of junk, wanting to throw things away, clean things up. He's had these two pressure washers sitting out in his yard for about 10 years. He just found them along the road, has no idea what's wrong with them. This one obviously is missing the pump. They both have good strong Honda engines, the GX 200, 6.5 horse. Those are real good engines, run forever. I don't know if either engine runs, but I know this pump is probably bad. I don't know if you can see this, but on the pressure side, the fitting's missing and that's cracked. So maybe that's why this one got thrown away, because it was leaking terribly. There are also a couple junk pumps. The one on the right came off a DeWalt, and I can't use that to replace it. But this one looks very similar, and I'm thinking maybe I can take this head off of this one with all these fittings and replace it on that one, and maybe get one of these two engines running and have a pressure washer. I'll show you all the diagnostics on figuring out how to get these engines going. My hope is that I can take all this junk and make one good pressure washer out of it all. Let's get started. The first thing I'm going to try to do is see if I can get one or maybe both of these engines running. It's not froze up. See if we got some oil in it, and we do. Here's our air filter. Pop that off. It's always good to take these and hold them up to the sun or a light, and you can look through the filter and see how dirty it is. This one's pretty clean. I just blow it out. Now these have been sitting for 10 years, and who knows how long before that. So I just want to see if I can get it to crank over, and if I can, then we can change the oil and fix the pump and do everything else. Ought to be enough to give it a try. It's a little sticky, the throttle. Here's the fuel. Shut off. There's on, off, and then the chokes here. Pour a little gas in here. I guess it'd help if I turned this on. I thought I turned it on. How about that? Might not be getting fuel. It's acting like it's not getting fuel, but that's sure encouraging. On, choke. Sometimes, if something's been sitting and it's not getting any fuel, I put pressure on this, blow in it, and I can push some fuel into the carburetor. Not recommending anybody do that. Well, if I'm going to do it right, I should pull that carburetor off and clean it. Since this thing's been sitting for 10 years, something's probably clogged up. So let's go ahead and do that. But I'm encouraged. Good start. And we just lift that out. Now we can pull the air filter housing off, and the easiest way to do that is turn the fuel shut off all the way over here and the choke all the way over here. And then it slides straight out. Let's go ahead and take the carburetor off. And I find it's easier to take this shroud and the recoil off to get the fuel line off and work with it. It actually takes me less time. Take these 4 screws out and do it that way. Get that out of the way and pull our fuel line off. So we'll pop this off. And I'll need to drain that out. But for now, you can just leave it like that. This metal gasket goes on there. Take the throttle linkage off. Just lifts out. And pull the carburetor off. Let's take it over to the workbench. Take it apart. Give it a quick cleaning. First thing I want to do is drain any gas that might be in here out. Whoa. Just taking out the bottom butt plug out of the float bowl. Oh yeah, isn't that sweet? Hee hee. Nasty, nasty. Ah, it stinks too. That is some nasty, nasty stuff in there. Gosh, look at that. Don't leave gas in the carburetor or even in the tank when you're not using it. At least shut off the fuel. This sediment bowl's probably all clogged up too. Let me take that off. Oh yeah, all full of gunk. I don't know if you can see that. It's like full of sand and all kinds of stuff. Look at that. Yeah, dog. I'll take the float bowl off. Oh yeah, it comes off. Wow, look at that. All that stuff's in there. Bad, bad, bad. I'm just going to use carb cleaner, scrape this, and get it looking pretty, and a toothbrush. That's pretty good. We'll set that aside. Pull the float out, pin, and lift this out. Clean that up. Now in here is your main jet, and underneath that main jet is the emulsion tube, and those should come out. And I am really concerned about this because in this one it's brass. I've got a good fitting screwdriver here, but this scares me because these brass jets break off real easy. And then you can't get them out. Oh, I think this one came. How about that? There it is. There's our main jet. And the emulsion tube's right underneath that. And one way we can get that out is, I don't know if you can see that, but right there, that's it right there. I'm going to try to push that down. Oh boy, it's really stuck. There it is. Hee-hee! We got her out. Wow. Wonderful. All right, let's clean this up. I'm going to take this out and clean up the outside real quick. Now we'll clean the pilot jet, and it's just this little plastic jet here, and it just pops out like that. Nothing to it. There is a rubber O-ring. There's supposed to be a rubber O-ring on there, and I can see that it's gone. So I'm going to have to replace that. There's supposed to be a rubber O-ring on here. It must have dissolved. I don't see it down in there either. This little port here goes in there. Looks like that's open good enough. If you get a surging of your engine, typically that's because this pilot jet's gotten clogged up. There's a tiny, tiny hole in the end of the jet here. And this one is opened up here. And then there's a hole here that goes straight through. That's why when you put it back in, this squared off side, you got to make sure that it's lined up with that square there so it fits down in there, because this port goes straight through that. So that's all got to be lined up. And it's good to take some carb spray and spray that out. Make sure it's all clear. That's good. And I'm going to put a rubber O-ring back on there. And if you do this, I got this at Harbor Freight. It's come in handy a few times. Wasn't very expensive. But you want to make sure that you use an O-ring that can handle petroleum products, which this can. Beautiful. All right. Can install this. Beautiful. And then we've got a pilot screw here. I'm heating up the soldering iron so I can remove this limiter cap here that's on a pilot screw. Sometimes they just pop off, but sometimes you got to heat them up a little bit. Oh, there. Just popped off. Now we can pull that out. I always like to check and see where they're set. And to do that, you turn it clockwise. And don't be aggressive, because this has got a real delicate tip on it, and you can break it off in there. But it's a half a turn. Typically they're about a turn and a half set at factory. There's one turn. 1 1/4. and it might be dirty in there. So we'll pull that off. You can see how delicate that tip is. Let's hit that with a little carb spray. Whoopsie. Brush that off. Then we'll just spray in here and make sure that's clean. There's just a little tiny needle hole there that comes through. See that? I push the wire through. See that wire coming through there? All right. We can put that back in. You want to make sure not to get these cross-threaded. And we'll go all the way down. There we go. I'm going to back it off half, 1, 1.5. Very good. And the last thing I want to do, this is the choke lever. Just sits on a post. You can pull that up and off. There's a little nub on there that goes into the choke right here. But this fuel shutoff, I want to check underneath there and make sure that's not all gummed up. There's a little spring under there that you want to be careful not to spring in a rubber O-ring. And it doesn't look too bad. That's where that comes in there and exits here into the sediment bowl. And we can put that back. Now we'll reassemble everything and put it back on the engine and see if we can get it started. Good. That's working a little smoother. Let's clean up our main jet. Got a little twisty. Nice little wire in there. Make sure that's opened up. Spray some carb cleaner through there. Nice. All right. And the same thing with the emulsion tube here. Let's spray it with carb cleaner first. There's all these little holes in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then one straight through. That's all got to be free. It looks like it's pretty good. Hold my finger over the end here. See if I can get those cleared out. There we go. Nice. I'm going to take the wire, clean each one out. All right. Very good. All right, got that clean. The narrow end goes in first on these. Just drop that in. And then our main jet. Drop that in and be very careful that you don't cross thread it, so I like to go counterclockwise till it clicks. There we go. You don't have to go crazy tightening this down, just snug it down. There we go. And you want to make sure your screwdriver, sometimes they flare out on the sides a little bit, and it can restrict it in there. So you want to make sure that the blade's wide enough so that you don't bust the copper, but not too wide that it gets hung up on these threads. So we're good there. Put this back on. The rubber gasket's still in there. Good. And we'll snug that down. Good. Put our idle adjustment screw back in. It's just plastic. You want to make sure you get that in straight. And I just take it a little past so I can see it coming through there. And of course we'll adjust it when the engine's running. Good. Now we will put our float and needle back in. Good. And the pin. There we go. Beautiful. And the float bowl. And you want to make sure your drain is where it was when you took it off. And on the engine I pulled this off of, it was sitting this way. And you want to make sure that you can access this, because that's why this got all gummed up in the first place, because nobody drained the carburetor. We'll snug this down. Good. And put the choke lever back on. It just slides over that, and then that goes in that groove. Just like that. Beautiful. Everything's nice and free, clean, and ready to go back on the engine. All right, we'll go ahead and throw the carburetor back on. Okay, before I go any further, I want to remove the pump. So I want to take this pump off, see if the motor's running right now, since we cleaned the carburetor, and then we can start addressing the pump. There we go. There's a little keyway in there that locks into the keyway into the shaft, the crankshaft. Now I can flip it around, see if it'll start. As we emptied out the carburetor, we'll prime that a little bit. I guess I'll take the plug out, see if I have spark. It's wet. Maybe I had it flooded. Oh yeah, we got spark. I'm gonna give her a shot of starting fluid in the cylinder. Maybe I messed up with the carburetor somehow, putting it back together. I don't think I did. Everything seemed all right. Do have it on. Try a different plug. Whoa! Okay. Magnet's a little rusty. Clean that quick. Just cleaning the flywheel magnet. Little piece of sandpaper. I guess I can check the gap while I'm here too. Just take a business card and I guess I'll have to gap it. It's your coil right here. Mercy. Get off the magnet. Get my card in there. There we go. Now just bring it back to the magnet. That'll pull that in. Push the bottom in. That's our gap that we need. Should be good. Get the card back out. Good. There's a magnet there. Throw this rascal back in. If you don't succeed, try again. Did you hear that? Oh! Oh! Oh, look, that's so... That doesn't sound so good. Hey, one other thought. I just pulled the carburetor back off. This shutoff valve has a little rubber gasket in there with different holes. And that might have shifted a little bit, and that's why I'm not getting enough fuel. The way that's running, I have to put the choke on. It's not getting enough fuel. So I'm going to pop this off real quick and see if that's on there right. I don't know if you can see this, but this rubber gasket here for the on-off is plugged. It's got messed up from old fuel being left in there. And this hole here and this hole here let the fuel come through, and that's what the holes are supposed to look like, and those are all closed up. I went ahead and pulled the carburetor off the other engine, and this carburetor is in much better shape than the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this one on, and then we'll go forward from there. First pull, how about that? Boy, that sounded good. Before I go any further, I am going to change the oil in this engine, and also I'm going to change the fluid in the pump, and we'll put it back on and see if this thing works. I just threw a little empty container underneath there, and we'll go ahead and take off the drain plug, drain that out, put some fresh 10W30 in there. There we go. Woo. Takes a little over half a quart, 0.63 quarts. That's the old oil there, and we'll put in the new. All right, here's the pump I have, and pressure side's full of mud. We'll drain the fluid and clean out the pressure side and throw it on and see if it works. There we go. It's not milky, so there's no water in there, which is good. Of course, you can change this on the unit, and if I didn't have to fix this all up, I'd do that, and I will do that, assuming this works. And I've got some straight 30 weight, and you want to run non-detergent in these because they'll foam up and create problems with these pumps. So you got to run non-detergent or just get pressure washer pump oil. I got some 30 weight. This takes either 30 or 40 weight non-detergent. And I don't know exactly how much this pump takes, but I'll go ahead and put that much in, and then we'll go from there. Put the key in. Now put the pump on. There we go. There's 4 bolts that hold this in place. All right. Took the carburetor off, cleaned it, cleaned the old fuel out of the tank, got that all straightened out. We re-gapped the coil and cleaned the magnet, changed the oil on the engine, and changed the oil on the pump, mounted the pump. I think we're ready to test it. Let's do it. If this video was a help to you, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And I look forward to helping you with other projects online.